What's going on? Jamie Arrington here. We're about to hop in this brand new Honda Pilot Elite Edition. Beautiful, beautiful ride. We're gonna go pick up local music legend Thomas Jackson. He's got a new album coming out. It's gonna be a great time. This is all brought to you by our friends at Vardaman Honda here in Hattiesburg. Let's roll. Thomas Jackson.
Hey!
What's going on?
Oh, nothing much, just cleaning up.
You ready to ride?
I am. Let me grab my guitar and we'll go.
All right, so you got to check this out. All right, watch this.
Wow.
Look at that.
That's impressive. Good when you got your hands full.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's roomy in here.
Room for the bodies. These streets are surprisingly smooth. Shout out to Toby Barker right now.
I know. He's doing a good job.
He's doing a good job. He, doing a good job of rolling his sleeves up every time he does a presser.
Yeah.
Jimmy Page took control, that was the end of me.
I drew a picture of him recently, and the first thing my wife said was he needs more gray hair. He said, thanks for not giving me too much gray hair.
Yeah.
And she was like, more gray hair.
So you're kind of like a Renaissance man with art and music and sweeping the driveway.
Yeah, whatever I can do to avoid working.
Well, that's a good plan.
Tonight, I wanna do my own thing.
I do a lot of my best songwriting while I'm sweeping the driveway.
And scream all night.
You're from Tupelo?
I'm Tupelo, Mississippi originally, birthplace of Elvis Presley.
Is the honey all it's cracked up to be?
It really is. Actually, Tupelo honey is not from Tupelo. I think that Van Morrison was referring to something that was from like somewhere in Ireland or something, which is strange. I could be making that up completely.
I don't want to hold.
Fun fact, T-Bones, back in the day, was my dad's old computer store. I used to come here as a kid and just frolic around, and now it's a full-fledged record/coffee/music venue.
I love this place.
Yeah, it's a great spot.
I had my first CD for sale here.
Oh, wow.
Back in the 90s when you had CD burners were like a new thing.
What's a CD? Well, we did get some coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I guess that kind of, so much for the plagiarism.
Yeah.
I got the Golden Eagle.
I just got regular coffee.
Well,
I mean, it's fancy regular coffee.
it's fancy. Well, that is Thomas Jackson. He's simple, but it's slightly fancy. There's a lot of history here. I mean, you think back to that first album, in the 30s that was recorded. That was allegedly the first true rock and roll album, according to Rolling Stone magazine.
There was a recording session, I think it was 1936. It was done at the old Hattiesburg Hotel. There was a talent guy at Jackson that had a furniture store, record store named H.C. Spears, and he discovered blind Roosevelt Graves and his brother Leroy, I think is how you pronounce his name, and they were local, street singer performers. And they had recorded back in 1928 in Wisconsin, and he had them back in 36 to do this session. It was the two brothers and a piano player named Cooney Vaughn. Hattiesburg was a blues piano mecca back in the 30s. A lot of the boogie woogie thing that you hear in rock and roll, guitar players adapted from hearing piano players do it. And so they formed a little impromptu band called, I think, the Mississippi Juke Band,
Yeah.
and recorded a few songs. Some of them were gospel songs. It was actually some of the last representation of that type of gospel music that was performed in those days. But then also they did some dance numbers that Robert Palmer claimed kind of had the essence of the rock and roll boogie woogie bass line in it. And so they are very important historic recordings that were done right in downtown Hattiesburg.
How'd you end up here?
I came down here to go to USM. I was a graphic design major.
Cool.
I originally wanted to be a comic book artist when I was a kid, and then in college I kind of got more into playing guitar and just kind of went that route. And then kind of rediscovered art. You know, when I got married or got engaged, I, was spending less time out, I guess, and started thinking of other things I could do for income so that I didn't have to travel as much.
Got me in the palm of your hand. I ain't got no escape plan.
When did you start playing guitar?
I was in high school. I was probably a junior in high school or senior, so I was kind of a late bloomer, and I didn't really get serious about it till I was probably in my mid to late 20s, and then I started doing it for money and got a little more serious about it.
78 RPM blues.
Now, you started your own band?
Well, I call it a band. It was a two-piece. It was the Thomas Jackson Orchestra.
That's great.
And it was me and a guy named Jed Newell who used to live here in Hattiesburg. And it was me on guitar and him on drums. And this was kind of when the White Stripes and the Black Keys and all that was kind of going around. And so it wasn't really my ambition to sound like those guys, but it made me think, well, if those guys can pack a stadium with just a bass player, with just a drummer and a guitar player,
right,
then I can at least probably maybe pack this local bar. You could go out and work with fewer people, and it was easier to travel. And the orchestra was kind of a joke, because it was just a two-piece band.
Right.
But we had a kind of a big sound for two guys.
Who were some of your biggest musical influences growing up?
I would say Robert Johnson was a big one. I kind of didn't really discover him till a little later in life. As a kid, it was a lot of British classic rock. I was big into T-Rex and Led Zeppelin and Queen and the Beatles and all that stuff. And I would hear a lot of these guys like Jimmy Page and Eric Clapton would reference these old acoustic guitar guys, blues guys. And I think at the time, blues to me was like B.B. King and Stevie Ray Vaughan. That's what I didn't know that there was acoustic blues.
Yeah.
And so I was curious about it, especially since these guys were from Mississippi. There was this Mississippi connection. And I started listening to it. And honestly, the first time I heard Robert Johnson, I was like, I don't get it. It's hard to listen to, and it's real muffled and scratchy and everything. But I kept listening to it and kept reading about all these guys, and it just seeped into what I was doing, and you feel like you're part of a tradition here.
So you're working on a new album now, hopefully to be out by the end of the year.
I'm hoping to get it out by Christmas time.
We got you here, we got your stuff. Would you mind playing a little ditty for us?
I think I can do that.
Was eating three-eyed fish in a bar in New York, an old movie star on life support, looking at a map and trying not to get off course. Asked my friend what direction to take, and he said stick to the left before it's too late. You're in purgatory and you're just gonna have to wait. Well, I knew then, but I wasn't sure if I'd lost the battle or won the war. There was energy, the blood on my shoes, billion people with nothing to lose. New York City with the blues. Well, I knew then, but I wasn't sure if I'd lost the battle or won the war. Well, I knew then, but I wasn't sure if I'd lost the battle or won the war. The prettiest thing I think I saw was Andy Friedman's sister-in-law. I went back to Mississippi to sharpen my claws. Well, I knew then, but I wasn't sure if I'd lost the battle or won the war. Well, I knew then, but I wasn't sure if I'd lost the battle or won war.